Do you banana? Do you do a sports drink or choose your jam? Do runners even need carbohydrates? What kind should you be consuming? I think we're gonna have to start back at the beginning, simple versus complex carbohydrates, and then build from there. Simple and complex carbohydrates, the difference is really just how quickly one is digested and absorbed and utilized. Most carbohydrates are broken down during digestion into glucose. Some simple sugars, some of those names that you'll see a lot, glucose, fructose, sucrose, lactose, and maltose. Complex carbohydrates, those polysaccharides, those are formed by longer chains, and those take a longer time to break down. Now, why am I telling you all of this, giving you all this science-y stuff? It's because during exercise, your skeletal muscles use primarily carbohydrates and fats for energy. Carbohydrates are essential to runners. I know it's trendy now. I'm gonna get a lot of comments. I don't need carbohydrates when I run. I'm fat adapted. Well, you can be fat adapted, but your body still needs carbohydrates. At higher intensities, that's 50 to 60% of your VO2 max, fat can't meet the needs and the rates of ATP synthesis, so it can't meet your energy needs that quickly because fat is taking longer to produce that energy. So you need carbohydrates to be able to perform at that higher, faster intensity. So here's where it gets a little tricky. Your body can only oxidize a certain amount of carbohydrates per hour, which means that you're not going to be able to fully replace all of the carbohydrates that you're burning. Your body can do between 60 and 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour. It can only hit that 90 mark if you're combining glucose sources, meaning that if you're combining two different kinds of sugars. Some of those that I mentioned earlier, the best mix is glucose and fructose in a 2-to-1 ratio. Another thing you need to be careful about is overdoing or overloading your gut with sugars. A lot of runners get GI issues, and that comes because they're putting too much into their gut that it can't digest. So you want to make sure that you start at the lower level and either work your way up or find just that right amount and balance for your body. You're in it with me this far. I've convinced you that it's important that you need to have carbohydrates while you're training, but what's the best kind? Liquids, gels, solids, chews, all of the above potentially. On paper, they all work at getting carbohydrates to your muscles. Gels are great, for example, waking up the brain. A lot of them have caffeine in them. Your brain runs off that glucose that's stored in your liver. So taking those gels in is a great way to give you that mind immediate boost and also give you some energy. But it's important that you get that frequency and timing right. If you're going to be relying on gels while you're training and racing, you really want to understand how fast your body, your individual body, works well with those gels. So if you take them every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes, find the formula that's best for you. Now, liquid drink mixes can be a great option for a lot of runners because not only are they easy to consume, but they also have some added ingredients these days. They're a lot better than they used to be, trust me. Nowadays, you can get some with caffeine, BCAAs, any kind of, a lot have adaptogens. So electrolytes as well. A lot of these drink mixes have electrolytes in them. So they're a great option for some of those longer runs, say half marathon or marathon distances, definitely for the ultra distance. But you want to make sure that you sip slowly and at a regular interval. Now, solids. At high intensity, solids are pretty difficult to kind of chew and digest. So I don't suggest having a bar, say, during your 5 or 10K. Maybe even not during your half marathon, depending on the intensity that you're running at. But for a marathon or even an ultra marathon, those extra long distances, solid foods are a great option because they have a mix of that fast acting carbohydrate, but also some of those slower, longer burning energy sources. Finally, you just want to figure out what works best for you, try a bunch of different options, and especially try them on regular intervals before your race. While I have your attention, I think now is a good time to remind you that carbohydrates are important for more than just training and racing. They're also crucial for recovery. So muscle glycogen is synthesized more rapidly if you have carbohydrates after your workout, especially after your workout during that kind of post 2-hour window, so including it within 2 hours after you finish training. Let's do a race distance breakdown and really give you the practical implications of training and racing with carbohydrates. So if you're out doing a 5K, you have enough stored glycogen in your system to run that 5K. Although if you're trying to hit that PR, you might want to do a gel, really fast acting, before the race. The 10K, you still have enough stored glycogen on board to get through that, like depending on how long it takes you. So if it's under about 45 minutes, but this is a good one to use a gel, maybe some chews in order to cross that finish line fast. The half marathon, my personal favorite of all of these distances, this is the ideal race for those liquid calories. Liquid because you have electrolytes in there and because you have some of those added BCAAs and caffeine in order to get you through those 13 miles. The marathon distance, twice the fun, twice the fuel. This is an opportunity to use multiple kinds of fueling. Some can do the solid foods if they're running at a low enough intensity, but definitely an ideal time for a liquid mix throughout so you stay hydrated, but also utilizing some of those gels or chews in the later stages of the marathon, timed when you need that added boost of energy. The ultra distance, the big daddy of all running events, I want to say eat all the things, right? This is the time when you just want to make sure that you're fueling enough to get you across that finish line. That could be a mix of solid foods, liquid foods, gels, chews. Heck, I've seen it all at these races. That can be chicken broth, boiled potatoes, candy. I've seen people do pizza, whatever it's going to take that is going to get you there, but also that isn't going to upset your stomach. Depending on how long of an ultra you're doing, your stomach might get upset at some point and you're just going to have to dial it back and then start again fresh. Bottom line, runners love carbohydrates, you need them. If you're looking for maximal and optimal mental acuity, performance, and recovery, you should be consuming carbohydrates in your daily diet as well as during your training and racing. Now that I've convinced you need carbohydrates, I want you to make sure that you're using them correctly. In the video I mentioned using gels and during that for certain races, I've done an entire video so you can learn the best types of gels to use, all the different kinds of gels, when to incorporate them, when not, and how to make sure that you don't get any of that stomach GI issue and upset when you're using gels for your racing. So click on this video and I will see you in there. Rock on!